Hello everybody, Jared Volle here for CreativeStandUp.com. In this video, I'm going to respond to a question about having a hard time watching yourself performing, especially knowing if you did if you did a poor job, or if you had a bad show. What do you do, or how can you watch yourself perform if you had a bad show? I'm going to give you a very Kyle Cease-like answer, so I want to preface that first because credit where credit is due. He's the one that's been inspiring me a lot, so I want to make sure that I give him proper credit for this answer. Anyway, so with that said, let's talk about why you might be hesitant to watch yourself perform. Obviously, watching yourself perform when you know you had a bad show, it's going to be an uncomfortable experience. All right, so in the email, it said, I still haven't listened to my 7-minute set from last Monday. Sometimes it's just too painful to listen when you didn't do too well. I will make myself listen today. And then from there, we talk about other stuff. So first off, don't make yourself listen to your bad show. Right? There's no rule that says you have to. It's not like you burnt your food and you're going to make yourself eat it because you're going to learn your lesson that way, right? You don't have to just inflict pain on yourself for no reason. If there's nothing you can learn from that, then there's no reason to watch the video, right? So don't watch the video just because you think you should watch the video. With that out of the way, I think you should watch the video, but not because you have to, right? I think you should challenge yourself to not watch the video yet, but just sit at your computer and think about the idea of watching the video, right? And then notice your emotions while you're doing that. And you're gonna get really uncomfortable, right? When you imagine yourself doing something stupid, or you have a bad memory or whatever, you get really uncomfortable, right? You start tensing up. Some memories are just really, really kind of awful, and you try to push them out by really tensing up your body. If you have something like that which just makes you uncomfortable, just allowing yourself to sit in that uncomfortable position is enough to make that discomfort go away. Given that you're also okay, so I'll backtrack and I'll give you some of my own experience with this, because I've been going through this exact same thing, but I've been doing it within my personal life instead of in stand-up. So I've been meditating a lot lately. In those meditations, a lot of painful ideas and memories and stuff has come up. One memory was particularly painful, and I actually shared this with my brother yesterday, because he's the only one I've ever mentioned this to. Probably the only one I ever will to. But I had this memory come up, and it was really painful, and the idea of having this in my body just made me really tense up quickly, and I will do anything to make that idea go away. So what I've been doing, or what I did last week to finally get over this, is that I just meditated. I just sat in my chair, or sat in my the place I meditate, and I just held this memory for a while, right? And at first, my body was just like, you have to get away. This is uncomfortable. You have to, we are under attack. That's kind of the signal my brain was giving me. This is not okay. We need to run, right? Fight, or freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze. My body was saying, you have to run. You can't stay here. You need to run away from this painful idea. But I sat there with this memory for maybe an hour and a half or something, probably less than that. It was like a 2-hour meditation, but I did weird, during my meditation, do a bunch of weird stuff as well. But I just sat there and just felt nothing but love for all of the characters inside my memory, right? And even though in the beginning this was so uncomfortable for me, I just stayed there and I just appreciated that the people in this memory, I appreciated them for who they were at the time, who they are now, I just held that space. I just said, I love everybody here, right? And that was totally different from anything that has been, like, this memory has been plaguing me for 10 plus years at least. Anyway, okay, I won't go any more in detail than that. Anyway, I just sat there and I just appreciated and loved that part of me that was scared, or that didn't feel heard, right? And that was, to me, I don't know of a higher or a more painful memory that I can apply it to. Like, that was like, maybe I'll try it this, but that was the number one thing for my personal life. That was, nothing was worse than that memory, right? So, like, now that I've changed this memory, or I'm unable to get to an uncomfortable place with it now, right? When I have the memory, it doesn't feel the same. There's nothing in my body, there's no emotional response to it at all. I'm just okay with it. I've accepted it. That's all there is to say about it. So, and I know this doesn't seem like it's applies to just watching stand-up comedy, and that's because watching stand-up comedy, it's not nearly as personal. It is personal, but this idea it can tackle anything, I believe, because I personally used it to face my biggest fear. And if that worked, then I feel absolutely confident that stand-up comedy is just, that's a drop in the bucket here. So what I will challenge you to do is, instead of forcing yourself, you said, make myself listen to the video, or I guess listen, so maybe it's an MP3. Anyway, instead of making yourself, why don't you get to a place where you are 100% okay with the thought that, you failed, or you didn't get the outcome that you wanted, or however you want to phrase it. So instead of, like, your mind has come up with this false dichotomy, right? And it's there to protect you, right? So you have this, like, wall inside, and on one side it says, all right, so the idea is painful, right? So we can take any painful idea, but let's just say that watching your comedy is painful. So there's this false dichotomy here where it says, since this is a painful memory, we have two options, right? We can either avoid doing this because it's painful, or we can rush through it and try to minimize the amount of pain that we're in, right? But neither one of those actually addresses the inner you that is actually having the problem, right? Instead of trying to just be like, okay, so think about, like, the inner you is like crying out there, right? And I know I sound so, this is not how I usually sound. Like, I'm the science person. Like, I love all I usually cite studies and stuff. This is totally off for me, but it works. So that's why I have to tell you it, because I know that it works, and it will work for you. Anyway, so you are trying to kind of ignore the part of you that just wants to be heard, right? So if you create a space where you can just love that part of you that's scared, right? Because that part of you that's scared is there for a reason, right? People don't build walls for no reason. They build walls because at one point in the past, that wall was necessary, right? So the fact that you have this wall built is not a bad thing. It is there because your mind, your brain, your ego, whatever you want to call it, was at one point using that to protect you, right? So maybe we had this idea that we're not enough, so we have to keep getting better and better and better, right? And that's one thing I've struggled with a lot. I need to improve this and that and this, and I just need to try harder, right? So I will try to rush from point A to point B. Like, I will try to cram as much as I can into a small area, and that is kind of my own way of ignoring the part of me that is scared to fail, right? So it's the same exact thing as you going in front of your computer and watching yourself do something uncomfortable, right? For me, that would be like sitting down and understanding that I'm and getting uncomfortable that I'm not trying to achieve something at that moment, right? So hopefully that makes sense. So to sum this one up, instead of forcing yourself to really to do something that's uncomfortable, and in this case we're talking about watching your video, but it might as well just be like stage fright. You could do this for stage fright as well. Instead of forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do, or to pretend that you're not uncomfortable when you are, just take a moment, take 15, 20 minutes, and just sit with yourself, connect with yourself, and just say that it is okay that you are scared. It is okay that you are that you failed on your Monday night show, right? That's not going to follow you forever. That's probably already in the past, right? So be okay with that. All right. And when you can do that, when you can connect with yourself on that level, it won't matter how bad you did on that show, right? There will be no emotional response when you watch the video and you can say, here comes a joke, here comes the worst moment of this, of what I'm doing, the worst moment, and it'll happen, and it will just not connect, right? Like, AM, FM radio, like if you're not on the right frequency, is that the right frequency? AM, FM? I don't. If you're not on the right frequency, it just kind of like passes through you. Oh God, I just used frequency. Oh, I hate that, because that's like frequency is super close to the word vibrations, and I hate when people say that things vibrate. Oh no, that's a little too close. Okay, I'm gonna have to like make up for this video with like a super analytical, sciencey video. Anyway, when you are connected to yourself like that, you will not have the same emotional response that you are used to. So I would challenge you to watch your video, but to do it after you are 100% okay with what is inside that video. And I would look forward to a follow-up email. Let me know how it went. And of course, and since I gave credit in the beginning, let me give credit in the end. That was a very Kyle Cece answer. If you like that kind of idea, then I'll leave a link in the description for Kyle. Kyle's stuff is amazing, so I can't recommend him enough. Anyway, I'm Jared Volle for CreativeStandup.com. Thank you again for listening.